We find ourselves wrapped in the fever dream that is another trip in the time machine we call Aging Gracefully. So consider joining the family, click the subscribe button, and on today we go towards a steady sequel diet that is imperative for any young horror franchise to consistently grow. Of course, we're talking about a second date with that handsome devil, Victor Crowley, for 2010's Hatchet II. Something that I learned with the original Halloween rolling right into Halloween 2 was that I very much enjoy a following up on the actions of the film that came before it. This is what happens here with Hatchet 2. We get right back to Mary Beth Dunstan having triumphed over the hatchet-faced killer. So speaking of Mary Beth, she's back here, but she's not really back. Because as wonderful as I felt like Tamara Feldman was in the first film, and as far as I'm concerned, she stole that movie, her and the director, Adam Green, did not get along. There was a lot of friction there, and when it came time for another Hatchet, she wound up getting the axe. You see what I did there? This is where Danielle Harris cruises right into the role of the vengeful daughter, and my God, did I have a crush on this girl. She was my actual first crush. We were about the same age when she did Halloween 4. Loved her there. Loved her in Halloween 5. Popped when she turned up in Urban Legend, and I felt it was poetic and deserved when she made a return to the Halloween family for Rob Zombie's much maligned remake and follow-up to that story. Didn't like losing the original. I thought Tamara Feldman was really good, but if you're going to replace somebody like that, it might as well be with a first ballot Scream Queen Hall of Famer like Danielle Harris. Back to the film, though. Mary Beth, distraught, stumbles into the cabin of Jack Cracker, who, if you remember from the first film, he was the guy in the boat warning them about Victor Crowley, all before he decided to start drinking his own urine, of course. And he sits her down in a chair, tries to calm her down, even offers her a warm cup of urine himself. But once he understands and once he knows who this girl is, he wants her gone. He knows what the Dunstans did and what they meant to the legend of Victor Crowley, and he doesn't want any part of it. Even going so far as to point a shotgun at her and telling her to get. Now, he also says, if you want to know the truth, if you want more answers, go see Reverend Zombie about what Samson Dunstan, her father, wound up doing. Shortly thereafter, though, Victor Crowley does make an appearance in this cabin and brutally kills Jack Cracker in the first murder of the film and the cold open that we have for Hatchet 2. Now, before I go a whole lot further, I want to say I love all the tie-ins from the first film. Like, before Jack Cracker dies and after he kicks Mary Beth out of the cabin, he finds all the Bayou Beaver footage from that perv that was hanging out with those two girls in the first film. Love the callback. Thought it was great. We get a lot of that in this film, and I enjoy it because with Friday the 13th, there were very seldom mentions of the prior film or the characters in the prior films. Right after the cold open, we get a whole lot more of Tony Todd for the rest of the movie because Mary Beth has her sights set on going to see him to get answers about what happened on that swamp and who exactly Victor Crowley is and what her family has to do with the whole mess. This is where she learns that Samson Dunstan was one of the 3 kids that threw fireworks at Victor Crowley's cabin to try to get him to come outside so they can catch a look at him. And, of course, the fireworks wind up starting a fire. Cabin catches on fire. Dad's trying to get in with the hatchet, kills the kid. The rest is history. But to Reverend Zombie, the idea is to rid Honey Island Swamp of that curse. He has to let Victor Crowley get his vengeance on the 3 kids that caused his death. Now, Samson Dunstan is already done for. That's taken care of. That business is aced. There's 2 other kids, and Reverend Zombie seems to think that by luring them there under false pretenses and offering them up to Victor Crowley, once the curse is lifted, Honey Island Swamp will be open to everybody, and Reverend Zombie will make a fortune. We get a lot more of the Crowley story in general, too, and Tony Todd sounds tremendous telling it to Mary Beth. Apparently, Thomas Crowley, who's Victor's father, loved a woman, married a woman, loved her very much. She grew very sick. So sick, in fact, that Thomas had to rely on help to come in and help take care of her. Now, time passed. The woman grew sick and unable to really do much for herself, let alone for Thomas. Thomas grew feelings for this other woman, wound up getting her pregnant. And then on Thomas's wife's deathbed, they figure we're going to be able to be together. We've got a baby coming. We're going to be a family. This woman springs up and curses the unborn baby of Thomas Crowley, which turns into Victor Crowley. That is apparently how Victor Crowley came into this world, and that's how he was disfigured. Really good job telling this story. Tony Todd is next level awesome here. And again, the perfect recipe for a horror film is really dumb characters. And how stupid is it for Mary Beth to have survived everything that just happened to her and all those people she was tagging along with, only to turn around and say, I've got to get back to that swamp. I have to get my father and my brother's bodies out of there. I can understand wanting a proper funeral for your family, but that. So Reverend Zombie agrees to help Mary Beth on the condition that she brings her Uncle Bob with her, because as far as Reverend Zombie knows, Samson Dunstan's brother was one of the other two people there that night that are responsible for what happened to Victor. Now, what would become a recurring theme in these movies, Sean, who was our chameleon boat driver from the first film, has a twin brother that we meet here named Justin. Justin is pretty much Reverend Zombie's lackey. He's essentially the exact same character that Sean was in the first one. He's just an errand boy, and he gets tasked with setting up a meeting with local hunters, fishermen, and basically gun lovers to try to put together some sort of a team to take out there to Honey Island Swamp. Justin, like his brother Sean, is really good with accents, and he puts on a really stupid one during the beginning of this meeting when he's handing out Chips Ahoy cookies. And shout out Chips Ahoy cookies. Those things got me through my childhood, which you can probably tell. But the meeting with the prospective hunters is fun. It's a good time, and this is where we meet the third bad apple, the third kid directly responsible for Victor Crowley's fate, big bearded Trent. Now he pops up, he's apparently one of the toughest guys in town, he's one of the baddest dudes around, and he's the best shot that Reverend Zombie knows. And Reverend Zombie thinks that's going to come in handy, as well as the fact that he's the other person that he needs to have to hopefully realize this theory of his and get the curse lifted from Honey Island Swamp. He still doesn't know that that's going to work. But in order to get a hold of Honey Island Swamp, he's willing to try just about anything. A fun group here, though. I mean, they did another great job of giving us a cast of characters with some teeth to them. Now, Vernon seems to be our funny guy in this movie. He seems to be taking the role of Marcus to supply the laughs, a little bit of trash talking, a little annoying at times, but he's the comic relief. He shoots a shot also at Mary Beth before Uncle Bob steps in and sets fire to that, but we don't have a ton of time with these people because we know what they're there for, but the interactions that we did get between them, they were fun, and having an armed posse hunting our killer in this movie as opposed to just a bunch of tourists from the first movie, I thought it gave this group a little bit more edge, and it was a little more exciting to see what would happen. Now, not telling Justin that his brother Sean was dead that whole movie was pretty shitty. But it just made Zombie feel that much more vile. And I thought it was weird that Mary Beth never said anything to him this whole time because she had opportunities and she knew that Zombie was lying to this kid. But I guess maybe she was more concerned with just getting her family out of there. That was her main priority. Still, I thought it was very strange that they didn't reveal that to him until the very, very climax of this movie. And Hatchet, the franchise, is known for one thing: brutal murders, and that's exactly what we got here. I mean, there is a scene where we get a chainsaw that was big enough to give Leatherface a complex, and it feels like Victor Crowley just keeps getting stronger, because in the first film he took a slug to the chest and it dropped him for a considerable amount of time, and in this one he's eating just shotgun shell after shotgun shell. Did not matter what they hit him with, he just kept moving forward, like Rocky tells us to do.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward.
Now, the 1-versus-1 between Crowley and Trent was pretty damn exciting. I thought it was solid. Trent got some sturdy licks in, and it made it feel a little more believable that Crowley was vulnerable. Like, there was a chance that they could actually defend themselves against this guy. And then Crowley just slammed that door shut really emphatically with the way he kills Trent off. The zombie face-off, though, I thought it was just really odd to me. Like, you see Zombie marching towards Victor Crowley. Crowley's coming at him with a hatchet. Zombie's storming towards him with a loaded gun. And then the very next frame, you see Zombie wrap both of his hands around Victor Crowley's neck. That's an odd choice to me. If I've got a loaded weapon, I'm going to roll with that before I try hand-to-hand combat with a dude that apparently cannot die. The ending was abrupt, not all that different from the first movie, but this wound up being a really easy watch. And because of that, I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10. I feel like this does age gracefully. I can see myself watching this movie again. Now, we will talk about it when we get to 3, because we're going to get to 3, but 2 and 3 almost are easy to confuse with one another. And we'll go more into that during the review for part 3. But I just feel like this is a fun character. It's sort of rinse repeat. You know, it's not that different from the first film, and they're not doing anything new from slasher films in the past. The killer's just a little uglier, a little more formidable, and the characters are a little dumber. So it's real great popcorn fare. It's good B-movie horror. Danielle Harris was good here. I think she's tremendous. I've always loved Danielle Harris. She did this role justice, I thought. And it's not really until the third film where I feel like she starts to get a little head scratching with some of her decisions. But we'll get there. So far, I love the chaos. I love everything about this world Adam Green's created for us. I'm not really a gore guy, but when you keep it lighthearted, or at least as lighthearted as you can be with serial dismemberment, you can't help but have a good time. We had a good time here. So this is Aging Gracefully. I'm Matthew Essex. If you enjoyed this, feel free to comment, say, hey, attaboy, or if you think there's something we could do better to make this watching experience a little more enjoyable, I'm open to constructive criticism too. That's how we get better day in and day out. So until next time, I will see you beautiful people on the other side.